So we have some exciting for us news. I'm just taking inventory on our hay to see how much we have left. So I kind of have an idea of how much or how long it's going to last us. So we're just going to do some quick math. 3 to a line. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 36, 37, 38, 39, 41, 42. Okay, so there's still quite a bit here. So we're not going to be able to use this up by the end of the month. So we are going to... Okay, we'll find a way. Rudnik is actually going to be moving to a new spot come the end of this month. Possibly a little bit sooner, depending kind of how things play out. A couple of months ago, I was actually given a heads up that unfortunately it sounds like the owners of where Rudnik is right now are looking to sell the property next year. Given kind of how things are right now, because there's no other horses here, and a lot of people have told me, like, you need to look into that. Like, people are thinking way too much into this. So there's no hidden meaning. There's no, reason that people aren't boarding here. There's nothing that's like being hidden from us. Had some people say that's suspicious that nobody wants to board here, or that's suspicious that everybody left at once. I'm not going to share the details on why everybody left at once, because there really was no everybody. It was 2 boarders. One was moving because she just needed a better spot for her horse, and the other 2, that's not my situation to share or explain. It was bad timing. Everything just happened at once. There's also no reason that people are deciding to not board out here. It's just because I've said this in multiple videos before. We are very far out of town limits, and a lot of the people that board want something closer to the city. Most people that live out here have their own land, so they don't need to board. So it's going to take a little bit longer to find people who want to board here. That being said, none of it really matters anymore now anyways, because the owners are looking to be selling their property come next year. Knowing that, I started looking around for other options. I wanted to see maybe I can find something a little bit closer to us now. He is pretty close to us where we are at, but in the winter it would take an easy half an hour to get out here just because we have a mountain pass to drive through that's between our house and where Rudnik's boarded. So I kind of just threw it up on Facebook, seeing if there's anyone who would take on another horse. Our ideal situation would actually be if we could find somewhere where it's just someone with their own personal horses and they want to throw another horse into the mix. I don't really like the unpredictability of being with boarders, the coming, the going, the possibility of him ending up alone again in the future. We could just find somebody who has like their own personal horses and they're like, hey, I have space. Do you want to throw your horse in with our herd type of thing? And thankfully, that's actually exactly what we were able to find. This lovely woman has 2 horses of her own. They're mares, very sweet, quarter horses as well. So they have a very similar temperament to Rudnik. She has offered to let us bring Rudnik there to stay. I'm hoping this is the last move he's going to have to make for a while, but it's going to be a really nice setup. He's got his own private pen if he wants it, or he can be in the pasture with them. They've got turnout. There's going to be an indoor riding arena, access to trails. And the best part is this is going to be the closest he's ever been to us, and he's only 7 minutes up the road. This is going to be perfect. We have a lot of new subscribers, and I'm hoping that you guys watch this video, because a lot of our new subscribers, I understand, don't have horses. So if you don't have horses, you don't understand the complexity of maintaining them nutritional wise and how much work it can be to ensure that they are the right weight, that their diet is what they need specifically. Horses, unfortunately, it's not as simple as just throwing them out to pasture and that's that. Now, in the wild, obviously horses, they live on pasture. They're not eating hay, but wild land is so much different from farmed land. Wild land, you have brush, you have weeds, you have the exact same land that Rudnik is on right now, where it's a little bit drier, it's not lush, it's not green. What people are referring to as desolate, dried, barren land, this is the type of land that wild horses are on. Wild horses also do not have fences, so when their current grazing spot becomes sparse, they're able to travel. And some horses will travel 15 hours a day, just grazing as they go, because they're always moving, and because they spend 16 to 18 hours a day foraging, that's a lot of covered ground. We actually have a herd of wild horses between the drive from here to home, and you can see just how much they move some days. Like, it's a huge valley. One day they'll be in one corner of the valley, by that afternoon they'll be closer on the mountain, like right beside the road. So they're always moving. I understand you want to see horses in lush green pastures. However, that is not ideal for many horses, especially horses like Rudnik, because he is such an easy keeper. He gains so much weight. It's basically like giving a child access to unlimited candy. The sugar content in grass can be extremely detrimental to a horse's health. For a horse like Rudnik, if he was given access to a lush green pasture 24/7, the way he was previous boarding spot, we would have all the same issues again, which is rapid weight gain. It would start with some metabolic issues, which would work to his feet. He'd start foundering, he'd go lame, and eventually, when not treated properly, it would cause him to die, because it is just not something that they are designed to intake so much of that high sugar grass. They need to be foraging, they need to be working for their food and moving. When a horse like Rudnik is on grass all the time, sure, it looks pretty. You got your picturesque green, lush valleys and mountains and pasture, and it's like, it looks great. It looks like a happy horse. However, there can be so many underlying health issues that you are not aware of if you do not know the horse themselves. A horse like Rudnik needs hay. And so because we prefer to stick with just straight grass hay, sometimes it has a little bit of alfalfa mixed in there, but alfalfa can be very high in sugar. And so he gets grass hay. It's dried out. It's not going to contain the same astronomical levels of sugar that pasture grass, farmed land type of thing will. If you were to give him straight alfalfa, he'd have the same issues. He'd be rapidly gaining weight again, and it would get out of control very quickly. That being said, this new place that he's going, they have pastures with more grass. It is more of this desert type grass, so it's not the lush green grass that he had formerly at one of his previous places. It's not going to have the hills and the mountains that his current place does, but he's going to be getting to rotate through pastures, because what you want to do ideally with horses, you want to have multiple pastures set up so that you can rotate them a few months at a time. You put them into one, they eat it down, put them into another, allow that first pasture to replenish the grass, because horses will specifically try to bite grass so that it doesn't rip out the roots. It will allow the grass to regrow when you've moved them out of that pasture. However, if they are left in the same area, same space for too long, they will eventually rip those roots out, whether just trying to eat any bit of grass that they can, ripping it up with their feet, running around, whatever. It will make it very hard for that land to regrow grass again. Where Rudnik is going, he will have the option next summer to be on pasture with the mares. But for now, we are going to be keeping him strictly on hay, as we have been for the last year, because this is when he's been in his best shape. This has been the best for him. I understand that lush green pasture and grass looks a lot nicer to some than this, but there's so much that happens behind the camera that if you are not Rudnik's owner, or you are not directly related or not directly associated with his care and his health, you would have no idea. I'm saying this as an educational piece because we do have a lot of people that have joined us. Just something to think about. If you see a horse that's in a dry, barren area next to a pasture of lush grass, you need to understand that there's probably a reason for this. We don't do it because we don't want our horses to have nice things. That's not it at all. Trust me, if I was able to just throw them out on pasture, I would save myself thousands of dollars a year by not having to buy hay. In Rudnik's situation, I would then have thousands of dollars of vet bills a year because of the damage that grass is doing to him. He's probably still a little on the chunkier side. However, I can still feel his ribs. You always want to be able to feel their ribs a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to be able to see their ribs. That's not ideal, but you're going to in some ways that they move or walk or whatever. But you always want to be able to feel their ribs, because if you can't, it means that there's a very thick layer of fat between their ribs and their fur, and that's not good. And when Rudnik had gone up to 1,300 pounds, that's exactly what it was. He was so obese that he sounded out of breath. He sounded like he was exerting so much energy just to walk and to move. And that is a situation we are trying very hard to avoid again. So please keep in mind, when you see somebody who has a horse on dry land, there's most likely a reason for it. But if they just don't have the option to offer their horse pasture, we're still taking care of our horses. I can't vouch for everybody. There's obviously instances where this is not the case, but in Rudnik's situation, going forward, when you see videos compared to where he was previously 2 years ago, it might not look as pretty, but this is what is done in the best interest of his health. And just something to keep in mind when you see other videos with horses on dry land versus grass. Like, there's always a reason to it. Horse owners are constantly thinking, like I said, there's so much that happens behind the camera. You see maybe 2% of our life, and there's so much more that happens outside of that that we don't even share, because it's our life. It's what we go through every day, and there's no reason for us to make that public. So I understand, well, you're on the internet, you are making your life public. No, we are making parts of our life that we choose to be public. That does not give the internet right to make assumptions about our life, about who we are as people, and run with it. I think the internet has allowed people to become a little bit too forward and brazen in their accusations against people, thinking that they're, keyboard vets. They know how to diagnose a horse based off of a 5-second clip that they've seen. So Rudnik has a whole team behind him. He's got body workers, chiropractic, farrier, vet, trainers. Like, we've got people working behind the scenes that you will most likely never see or be a part of. We try to bring you guys along as much as we can. However, just know that everything that's done is done in his best interest. We would never do anything that would be detrimental to his health. So when you see going forward, or if you're new here, if you see videos of him on terrain that maybe you don't like it as much as you like the previous place, just remember there's a reason behind everything that we do. That being said, he does move to his new place this month. I'm super excited. We were aiming for the end of the month, but now that I see how much hay he has left that we're going to need to move over anyways, probably going to make that a little bit sooner, just because then I can have him closer, because it has been very difficult lately to get out to see him. I'm not going to say how long it's been since I've been able to come out, because I get attacked for that, because there's a mother out there with 3 kids who wants to tell me that she did this and this while she had a baby, and there's no reason I can't do it too. I'm excited. He's going to be 7 minutes up the road from us. It's going to be so much closer, and even just having him that much closer, knowing that I can rip on up to see him anytime I want. It's going to be a lot easier to go on the days when Bee's at work, when I have little Bee with me. Like I said, because it's not an actual boarding situation, it's going to be a lot more laid back. It's going to be calm. We're not going to have to worry about horses coming and going. Rudnik will get to live with her 2 mares, and they'll be able to bond. And for as long as I'm planning, I would like him to stay there. From the sounds of it, she has no intentions on it being short-term or anything like that. That being said, it brings up another conversation. We get a lot of comments from people saying, you can't afford to have land, don't have horses. Where we live in British Columbia, Canada, you need to be a literal millionaire to afford the land to have a horse. I am very comfortably able to afford to have my 1 horse boarded, fed, everything he needs to be up to health. Very comfortably. That is not an issue. If I couldn't afford him, I wouldn't have a horse in the first place. There is a big difference between being able to afford a singular horse and the food for a horse versus the mortgage for $1 million home. I could afford the $1 million home, but then I wouldn't be able to have a horse. So I could either have a horse and board him, or I could have the land for a horse and no horse. Unfortunately, these days, boarding is very common. It is more so uncommon in our area specifically to have a horse and own the land you need to be able to keep them on it. Boarding is very common. There's a lot of people that do it. If it wasn't common, one of our previous boarding spots, there were probably about 20 boarders there. If this was not a common need, there wouldn't be boarding facilities that are literally full. There's barns that cannot take anymore. They've got waiting lists, because it is not uncommon, especially close to cities, to have a horse without having the land. Obviously, ideally, in a perfect world, someday we will have our own land for Rudnik, and then we can have multiple horses, especially as little Bee grows up. It'd be nice to have a couple of our own horses, but right now, that is not something that is feasible. Maybe if our YouTube blows up and we become millionaires through it, sure, we can go out, drop a couple $1 million on some property, get some more horses. But at this time, we purchased our house in the spring. It has 1/3 of an acre. It's got enough land for our dogs. Our dogs can run around. We've got the cats. We're going to get some chickens eventually. But there is certain requirements horses need. You can't just throw them on a chunk of land. He would need to have water set up. He'd need to have storage for his hay. He'd need to have a shelter. And he needs to have enough land that we can rotate it so he's not chewing it and turning it into dirt. And plus, right now we're doing a lot of traveling to visit family, introducing them to little B and stuff, and finding somebody who can be at the house to watch him while we're away is a whole other situation. Right now, while we have a little one, he's only 8 months old, so he still requires a lot of attention and has a lot of needs. Having him somewhere where there's someone home all the time to watch him, because there's days when we're gone, days I can't be out there, this is a much better setup for us where we're in our life right now. Hopefully someday that changes and we can have the land, like I said, to bring him home. But for now, I am really hoping that this is our last move. We have had to move him quite a bit in the last year, unfortunately. Before where he is now, before he was where he was before this, he was in one spot for about 3 years, and he was there for 3 years. He was great, but that was the spot that was all pasture and grass. Didn't work out for us in the long run. That guy ended up shutting down his services of offering to let people keep their horses there. After that, we moved him to where he was previously that had about 30 other horses. That one just wasn't going to work out due to the distance of where it was from where we bought our new home. It was going to be about an hour and a half drive to see him, which meant with a newborn, maybe once a month if I was lucky. And I didn't like that. So we moved him out to where he is now. Where he is now has been working wonderfully. The only reason that we are moving him is because they were going to be selling. It has kind of gotten to the point now where he needs to have some friends, and because they're selling, I don't think they're going to be actively looking for more boarders. So moving him, he's now going to be 7 minutes from our house. He's going to have 2 mares that he'll get to spend all of his time with. We don't have to worry about boarders coming and going. Again, we make every decision in his best interest. Because he's not leaving any horses behind here, I don't think it's going to be that difficult of a move for him. Each move has happened without causing any sort of emotional trauma or stress on him. He's very easy with moving. He adapts very well, and I think that this is going to work out really well, and it's going to be really nice having him so much closer, especially come winter now. I won't have to go as far to check on him. So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that we don't document. This has been our first year documenting our life. So I'm new to the whole, what do I post, what do I share, what do I keep private? So I usually err on the side of keeping things private versus posting them. Usually I only share when something big happens, like a scenery change. So sharing that he's going to be moving, sharing body work that he has done. Most of the time it's because I can't remember to share it, or I don't know how to document it, and I'm still getting comfortable in front of the camera. We love having you guys along with us. We love sharing our journey, and I want to get better about sharing more of it because we have so many amazing supporters. You guys have been along with us through so much. You deserve to see what's going on in our life. There will always be stuff that we don't share. There will always be stuff that stays in private, like our names. Everybody knows my name, obviously, but like my fiance's name, my child's name, where we're located. You know that we're in BC. That's as much information as we'll ever share. We always ask that people don't share if they recognize terrain or landmarks. Don't share in the comments. Social media is a scary place. When it comes down to our life, I will not risk the safety and privacy of our own lives for some views online. But we always try to keep our content safe. We keep what we need to be private, private. So when it comes down to what you're seeing, please keep in mind you see about 2% of our life in total. All that aside, I'm excited to be moving Rudnik at the end of the month. I think he's going to be really happy where he is with his new little girlfriends. We will post more updates as we get closer. I do have another big exciting announcement to share, but I'm not going to be sharing this one yet. That one's to come. Thank you guys for coming along with us so far on all of our adventures. There's more to come. We're not done. We're just getting started, if anything. So I'm excited to see how this next step goes.